In just a few hours, the New Orleans Saints take on the Carolina Panthers in the Superdome. This is the last game of the season for the Black and Gold. WLOX sports anchor Blake Brannon here to talk about it with us. And the Saints won't be in the playoffs this year, but it has been a fun last few weeks as they put together a few wins, including a big win over the Philadelphia Eagles, the team with the best record in the NFC last week.
Yeah, they've kind of waited till the end of the season to really start playing their best football, but at the end of it, they didn't really have control of their own destiny just because of how everything shook out at the beginning of the season. So it was a little too late for the Saints. But like you said, playing their best football in the last 3 weeks of the season, hoping to end the season on a 4-game winning streak and really just figuring out what they have and how to put it together on the field.
So, we're not going to the playoffs, but what does a win in the last regular season game, does momentum going into the offseason really mean anything?
I think so. And I mean, you started out this season with that really last-second win against Atlanta. They had to come back in the fourth quarter. That was when Jameis Winston was still the starting quarterback. So it was kind of learning as they went. First full season of Dennis Allen as the head coach will now be in the books, but just really finding out what pieces they have and how best to use them. And the offensive line was plagued by injuries all season long, and you didn't have Michael Thomas for a lot of it, didn't have Jarvis Landry for a lot of it, didn't have Marshawn Lattimore for a lot of it. So really just figuring out what pieces, who they have depth-wise that can start to fill those roles as well.
And there will be a lot of moves for the Saints in the offseason. How those moves are made, we really don't know. There's even talk that Sean Payton could come back as head coach.
Yeah.
Or Sean Payton could go to another team as head coach, and that would open up some draft picks for the Saints, as the Saints still have the rights to Sean Payton. How do you see everything playing out, and what are the biggest needs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is, depending on what they do with Jameis Winston, because he's either been more hurt than they've let on, or they maybe want to keep him healthy for a possibility of maybe trading him for more draft picks or some free agents or something like that. So, I mean, depending on what happens with Jameis Winston, I think it is probably time to start looking for a quarterback. Andy Dalton has played admirably this season for the role that he was expected to play. But I think for the future, I think it probably is time to look for a rookie quarterback. But you need that. You need some help on the offensive line, maybe a little bit more depth on the offensive line, and just some help in the defensive secondary.
A lot of pieces need to come together, certainly now. The tragic story of the week, Damar Hamlin, the injury, going to the hospital, resuscitated on the field, something like it's rarely been seen in the NFL especially. Going forward, how does it change the game of football, you think?
I mean, I think I first off just commend the fast actions of the medical teams and of the medical staffs on both squads, and getting the ambulance out there and doing everything that they could to make sure that an already bad situation didn't get worse, and especially on Monday Night Football in front of millions of people, a nationally televised broadcast. But I think it's something that will probably change the game of football. I mean, it does seem like it was just a very freak occurrence, that something, like we said, that's never really been seen in the NFL before. But I think it will probably lead to, maybe more looking into more how this medical issue happened, what they can do to possibly prevent it, or if that's just something that was just with Damar Hamlin. But just really commending the medical staffs and just their fast action to get into that. And I think we'll see more of that.
We've seen tragedies on the football field before. In fact, we just did a story this week. There was a football player who died during a game at D'Iberville in 2011. Going back to 1989, Chucky Mullins at Ole Miss. He was paralyzed on the field, then later died from his condition. Do you feel like that football players going forward will be a little more hesitant to play the game? Maybe they get into the NFL, make a lot of money early, and say, I've had enough. Do you think that changes the mindset?
It definitely could, because I mean, these things don't happen often, but they still do happen. It is a very dangerous game. It's a full contact sport. It's full speed. These guys this is what, they're paid to play this game, and they're paid to play it at such a high level and just so fast. But I think that there is possibly some hesitation a little ways down the road. But the safety measures that they've taken in the NFL with everything with CTE and concussions and stuff, that's come leaps and bounds from where it was even 10 years ago.
Yeah, and we'll see how parents of young football players react as well. Blake Brannon, thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be watching the Saints later today. And that wraps it up for us here on Sunday. Dave Elliott will be back next week here on WLOX News This Week. We hope you have a great week ahead.